The emergency siren had been screaming for 10 minutes straight. Inside Galactic Medical Station Z-41, panic was everywhere. Bright white lights flashed across the long metal halls. Alien nurses ran from one lab to another. Doctors shouted orders in sharp, clicking voices. The air smelled of chemicals and fear. At the center of the chaos, inside a clear medical pod, lay a small predator cub. It was not an ordinary cub. It was a royal cub of the High War clan, the most feared species in the outer systems. Its fur, usually bright and fiery, now looked dull and wet with sweat. Its breathing was weak. Its claws twitched without strength. A faint growl escaped its throat, but even that sounded tired. The monitors around the pod showed falling numbers. Heart rate unstable. Temperature rising. Immune system collapsing. Chief Dr. Varric stared at the hologram screen with disbelief. "This makes no sense," he muttered. "We removed the toxin. The blood is clean." Another medic spoke quickly, fear clear in his voice. "It is not responding to nanorepair. Cellular failure is spreading." The room went quiet for 1 second. Everyone knew what this meant. If the royal cub died inside a human control station, the High War clan would not forgive it. They would not ask questions. They would not listen to excuses. They would attack. Outside the medical bay, armed alien guards stood stiff and silent. Their armor was dark and heavy. Their glowing eyes watched every movement inside the room. Inside the corner of the bay, near the cleaning supplies and tool carts, stood a human. His name was Armin. He was not a doctor. He was not a scientist. He was only a station caretaker. The one who cleaned floors, repaired small pipes, and fixed broken doors. Most of the staff barely noticed him, but Armin had not moved for the last 15 minutes. He was watching the cub, carefully. His brown eyes studied the way the cub's chest moved, the way its ears twitched, the way its tail curled when the fever spiked. Another alarm beeped sharply. Chief Dr. Varric slammed his clawed hand onto the console. Increased cooling flow. Cold vapor filled the pod. The cub's body temperature dropped for a moment. Then suddenly, the cub's heartbeat dropped lower. A sharp warning sound filled the room. One of the nurses whispered, "We are losing it." Armin took one slow breath. Then he stepped forward. His boots made a soft sound against the metal floor. Several alien staff turned their heads, annoyed. "This area is restricted." One guard growled. Armin did not look at him. His eyes stayed on the cub. "It is not poison," Armin said calmly. The room froze. Chief Dr. Varric turned slowly. "What did you say, human?" Armin swallowed once, but his voice stayed steady. "It is not poison. It is fever shock." A few medics made sharp, angry sounds. "You are not trained in xenomedicine." One snapped. "Stay in your place." Armin nodded slightly. "You removed the toxin." "Yes, but the body is still fighting. The fever is burning too fast. You are cooling it from outside." He pointed gently at the pod, "but its core is still overheating." Chief Dr. Varric stared at him with cold eyes. "And you know this how?" Armin hesitated for half a second. "I grew up helping my grandmother care for sick animals," he said. "Different species, different problems. But fever is simple." Another loud beep cut the tension. The cub's breathing became uneven. One of the monitors flashed red. 3 minutes. A nurse whispered. The room filled with fear. The guards shifted uncomfortably. Chief Dr. Varric looked back at the pod. For the first time, doubt appeared in his glowing eyes. "Do you have a solution, human?" he asked sharply. Armin slowly reached behind his back. From his small utility bag, he pulled out a round thermal container. It was simple. Metal, slightly scratched. Steam lightly escaped from its lid. The room fell silent again. "What is that?" a medic asked. Armin opened the lid. Inside was soup. Plain, warm, simple soup. The smell was soft and natural. Nothing like the strong chemical air of the station. A few alien staff made confused noises. "Is this a joke?" one snapped. "You want to feed royal blood with primitive liquid food?" Armin ignored the comments. "It will stabilize internal heat slowly," he said. "Not force it, not shock it, just guide it." Chief Dr. Varric stared at the dying cub, then at the falling numbers on the screen. Then at the human. You understand, Varric said slowly. If this fails, the blame will be yours. Armin nodded. If we do nothing, he replied quietly, it will die anyway. The words hit the room like heavy metal. For a moment, no one spoke. The cub gave a weak, painful cry. That sound changed everything. Chief Dr. Varric stepped aside. Open the pod, he ordered. The medical shield lowered with a soft hiss. Heat rolled out from inside. Armin walked forward carefully. The cub looked smaller up close. Not like a weapon. Not like a future war leader. Just a sick child. Armin dipped a spoon into the warm soup. His hands did not shake. Around him, alien guards tensed. Medics watched every movement. Machines beeped like ticking bombs. Armin slowly lifted the spoon toward the cub's mouth. The cub's glowing eyes opened slightly. For one long second, nothing happened. Then the cub's nose twitched. Its tongue moved weakly, and it tasted the first drop. The monitors flickered. One number paused, then shifted, very slightly. The room held its breath. Armin whispered softly, almost like speaking to a child. It's okay, Easy. He brought the spoon closer again, and the galaxy waited. The room did not breathe. Every eye was locked on the monitor. The moment the cub tasted the soup, nothing dramatic happened. No bright lights. No miracle sound. Just silence. Then, one small change. The heart rate stopped falling. It did not rise, but it stopped falling. Chief Dr. Varric leaned closer to the hologram screen. Stabilization, 0.02%, he whispered. That is nothing. One medic said quickly. Random fluctuation. But it happened again. The cub swallowed. Another small rise. Armin did not rush. He did not look at the monitors. He only watched the cub's face. The cub's breathing was still weak, but it was not chaotic anymore. The painful shaking had slowed. Impossible, a nurse muttered. Chief Dr. Varric turned sharply. Run a full internal scan. Now! Blue light passed through the cub's body. The scan results appeared in the air. Internal temperature. Still high, but no longer climbing. Cell damage. Slowing. Immune response. Reactivating. The medical staff stared in disbelief. One guard stepped forward, suspicious. Scanned the soup. Immediately, a small drone hovered near the container. It analyzed the steam, the liquid, every molecule. Results flashed on screen. Organic broth. Basic minerals. Simple protein strands. Herbal compounds. No nanobots. No alien tech. No hidden chemicals. The room grew even more confused. This is primitive, a scientist said. There is nothing advanced inside. Armin dipped the spoon again. The cub growled softly this time, not in anger, but in weak demand. It wanted more. The sound shocked everyone. The High War clan cubs were known to bite even their own caretakers when sick. They trusted no one outside their bloodline. But this cub did not bite. It opened its mouth again. Armin fed it slowly, drop by drop, minute by minute. The red warning lights on the machine slowly turned orange, then yellow. Chief Dr. Varric felt something strange in his chest. Hope! Suddenly, one of the medics gasped. Look at the neural activity. The brain scan showed increased signals, clear patterns, organized movement. The fever spike is breaking, the medic said, voice shaking. Outside the medical bay, the royal guards noticed the alarms had stopped screaming. They looked at each other in silent confusion. Inside, tension shifted. But then, the cub's body jerked violently. The monitors screamed again. Heart rate spiked too fast. Temperature surged. Cardiac overload, a nurse shouted. Guards instantly raised their weapons toward Armin. You have poisoned it, one roared. Armin did not move away. Instead, he quickly placed his hand gently on the cub's head. Easy, he whispered. The cub snapped its eyes open. Bright, burning. For one terrifying second, it looked wild, ancient, dangerous. Chief Dr. Varric stepped back slowly. If the cub entered survival rage, the entire medical bay could be destroyed. But instead of attacking, the cub locked eyes with Armin. Its claws tightened, not to strike, to hold. The monitors began to stabilize again. The violent spike slowly reduced. The heart rhythm smoothed out. Silence fell once more. The guard lowered his weapon slightly. "This makes no logical sense," he muttered. Armin kept his hand steady. His voice was calm, low. "You were fighting alone," he said softly to the cub. "You don't have to now." The cub's breathing deepened. The fever heat began to fade from its skin. Another full scan was run. Results appeared. Cell repair accelerating. Immune system fully active. Toxin traces completely eliminated. Chief Dr. Varix stared at the data. This recovery curve should not exist," he whispered. He turned slowly toward Armin. "What exactly is in that soup?" Armin looked at the container. "Bones," he said simply. "Herbs. Salt. Time. Time," Varix repeated sharply. "I let it simmer for hours," Armin said. "Low heat. Slow care. It keeps the warmth steady. Not too high. Not too cold." The chief doctor's eyes narrowed. "We regulate temperature with advanced climate systems." Armin shook his head gently. "Machines react fast. Bodies don't always want fast. Sometimes they need slow." The words felt strange in such a high-tech room. Another monitor beeped, this time softly. The cub moved. It lifted its small head weakly. Its glowing eyes looked around the room. Alive, fully aware. One of the nurses covered her mouth in shock. "It is conscious." The Royal Guard commander stepped forward. He had been silent until now. Tall, armored, dangerous. He looked at the cub, then at Armin. The cub slowly turned its head toward the human. With great effort, it shifted its body closer to him. Then, in front of everyone, the royal cub pressed its head against Armin's leg. Not as a predator, not as a ruler, but like a child seeking safety. The entire room froze. The High War clan never bonded with outsiders. Never. Chief Dr. Varix felt cold realization settle over him. "This changes everything," he whispered. But the guard commander's voice was darker. "Yes," he said slowly. "It does." Because now this was no longer just about medicine. This was about loyalty. And the galaxy would not stay calm when they learned who the royal cub had chosen. The news spread across the station in less than an hour. The royal cub was alive, not just breathing, recovering. But the bigger shock was not the recovery. It was a bond. The cub refused to leave Armin's side. Every time a medic tried to move it back into the pod, the cub growled. Not weak anymore. Not sick. Strong. Protective. Chief Dr. Varix stood with crossed arms, staring at the human. "This is no longer a medical situation," he said quietly. "It is political." Outside the station, a massive royal warship entered orbit. Dark, silent, waiting. The High War clan had received the report. They were coming. Inside the lab, alien scientists had already recreated the soup formula. Exact measurements. Exact heat level. Same ingredients. They tested it on a controlled biosample from the cub species. No reaction. Nothing. "It should work," one scientist insisted. "It is identical." Chief Dr. Varix turned slowly toward Armin. "You will prepare it again. In front of us." Armin did not argue. He walked to the station kitchen, a small and used corner made mostly for human staff. The alien medical team followed like shadows. Armin placed the pot on low heat. He added water, then bones, then herbs, then salt. Nothing special, nothing secret. The scientists scanned every move. Temperature stable, one reported. Chemical balance identical to previous sample. Hours passed. Steam filled the room. But something felt different. When the soup was finished, the scientists quickly took a portion and fed it to a test organism. No effect. Chief Dr. Varix's eyes hardened. "You are hiding something." Armin looked tired now. "No," he said softly. "You are missing something." The guard commander stepped closer. His voice was calm but dangerous. "The Queen will arrive in 6 minutes. If this is deception, your species will answer." Armin looked toward the medical bay. The cub was resting on a warm blanket. Its breathing was strong now, its fur bright again. The door to the station opened. Heavy footsteps echoed. The royal queen entered. Tall, powerful, covered in ceremonial armor. Her eyes burned like stars. Every alien in the room bowed. Armin did not. He simply stood still. The queen walked straight to the cub. The cub lifted its head and made a soft sound. Not fear, relief. Then something happened that froze every being in the room. The cub stood up, walked past its own royal guards, and stopped beside Armin. It leaned against him again. The queen's glowing eyes narrowed. "Explain," she commanded. Chief Dr. Verex quickly spoke. "The human claims this liquid healed your air." The queen turned to Armin. "What is your secret?" The room waited. This was the moment. Armin looked at the pot still warm on the stove. "It's not the soup," he said quietly. Murmurs filled the room. The queen's voice dropped lower. "Then what?" Armin walked slowly to the cub and knelt down. "When I fed it," he said, "I wasn't thinking about a royal heir. I wasn't thinking about war. I wasn't thinking about blame." He gently scratched behind the cub's ear. "I was thinking about a scared child burning from fever." Silence. "The soup was warm," he continued, "but my hand was steady. My voice was calm. I stayed close. I did not treat it like a weapon. I treated it like family." The alien scientists exchanged confused looks. "That is emotional nonsense," one muttered. Armin shook his head. "Your machines copied ingredients. They copied temperature, but they did not copy presence." He looked directly at the queen. "Your air did not only need medicine. It needed to feel safe." The room felt heavy. The queen slowly stepped forward. She lowered her massive form slightly to eye level with the cub. For a long moment, she studied her child. Then she spoke softly in her own ancient language. The cub answered. A soft sound. The queen straightened. Her voice was no longer cold. "It says," she announced, "that when the fire inside was too strong, this human shared his calm." Every alien in the room went still. The queen turned to the chief doctor. "You fought the fever." She turned to Armin. "You soothed it." She faced the entire medical staff. "In a galaxy ruled by power, you forgot something simple." Her gaze moved back to Armin. "You remembered." The tension in the room finally broke. Weapons were lowered. The threat of war faded like smoke. Then the queen did something no one expected. She bowed her head slightly toward the human. "From this day," she declared, "your species will not be known only for survival." She looked at the medics. "They will lead a new division. Care before control. Presence before procedure." Chief Dr. Verex swallowed. "Yes, your majesty." The queen turned to Armin one last time. "You will teach them." Armin blinked in surprise. "I am only a caretaker." The queen's eyes glowed softly. "Exactly." The royal fleet left orbit peacefully that night. No attack came. No threats followed. Inside Station Z-41, the medical wing changed forever. Advanced machines still worked. Science still mattered. But now, beside every pod, someone stood close. Not just to monitor, to comfort. The cub stayed on the station for several more days. Stronger each morning. On the day it left, it walked back to Armin one last time. It pressed its head gently against his hand. Then it turned and followed its mother. Armin stood in the doorway long after they were gone. Chief Dr. Verex joined him quietly. "I studied medicine for 40 cycles," Verex said. "I mastered every technology." He looked at the empty space where the cub had stood. "And a janitor taught me the most important lesson." Armin smiled faintly. "In the end," he said, "even the strongest creatures are still someone's child." The station lights dimmed for night cycle. Far above, in deep space, the royal warship disappeared into the stars. And in a galaxy full of machines, weapons, and power, the greatest cure turned out to be something simple. Humanity.